morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you guys are. Thank you for joining us for another episode of AYP News. We've got some fun stuff for you guys. But hey, Jared, good to see you guys from Chicagoland. We got the Jareds in the chat. Anyway, we've got some cool stuff for you guys, and as always, it's great to have you on board. Make sure you leave your comments and questions as we go through this. That's really important. And let's just get this party started. So I am Marc Silber. I'm an author and photographer here in Carmel, California, and our episode, as always, or not always, but usually, is brought to you by Bay Photo Lab. They have some cool stuff. I saw something on their homepage here that, let's see if I can grab that. Well, these are their current special offers. These are the ones you guys want to focus on. Metal prints, which are cool. I've definitely done those. They hang on your wall, and they have a certain vibrance to them. They're 15% off. You guys can use that code there. And acrylic prints are 20% off. They're still running this special on plaques. And of course, you'll get 25% off on your first order. Just remember how important it is to put stuff into a print form, not just in pixels on your computer, but printed. Hey, this is a big deal, and this is really important. And our friends at Bay Photo will help you do that. Okay, well, let's say, without further ado, Jared, should we get started here?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to bring up your
Okay.
screen. This is our
Yeah,
first
let me know when
story.
it's up for the audience.
It's up.
So I chose this one. First off, gender reveal parties have been a lot in the news, so this is kind of very topical with that. But there's a park in Fort Worth, Texas, here in the United States, where there are some people that are becoming increasingly bothered by photographers going off of the trails and bringing their clients, and they're afraid of the damage that is being done by these photographers. If we scroll down, people are bringing their clients, they're bringing couches,
Yeah.
and so we've got a little bit of a conflict between these people. I believe they're calling themselves like the Friends of Tandry Hill is the name of the group. And so we've got this conflict between some photographers that are coming in to do this. And apparently they've been fairly aggressive to a lot of photographers, which, some photographers are being like, it's not all of us. And so I just wanted to bring this up because, Mark, I know that you have, a very soft spot for nature. You've been in nature a lot. You recently
Yeah.
just went on a trip to many of the national parks. And so I wanted to hear what your thoughts were on this.
Well, yes. I think, when you start crossing, there's a line that you can cross. So we have our own trail. You guys have seen some shoots that we've done there. I did an interview with Bob Holmes there. Jared and I shot a whole bunch of video clips for my course. But we're okay, so we're going there. We're not intruding on nature. Now, when I look at these pictures of the smoke bombs and some of the other ones you showed me, the confetti bombs, and what are some of the other, these things are definitely
Yeah, like they're
crossing the
bringing
line.
couches. They bring couches to have
I
their
don't,
clients
I
sit
don't,
on.
yeah, I don't get that. Now it's funny because after we reviewed this story on my trail, which is like I can pretty much step outside my door and enter it. Yesterday, there was a photo shoot, and there've been I've noticed more and more photo shoots going on there. I think because we do have to do things outside, people can't be in a studio. They're okay. They're seeking a natural environment. That's fine, but does it intrude on nature? Or even you were telling me that one of the fires in LA was caused by was it a smoke bomb that went off?
It was a pyrotechnic smoke bomb for a gender reveal party.
Absolutely unacceptable. I mean, look, we don't need any more cause for starting fires in California. And if somebody's dumb enough to set off something when it's in the height of fire season, that's just a criminal activity. So it's, I think it's pretty simple. It's, do we intrude on nature? Because I have spent the better part of my life, as you said, doing things that protect the environment one way or the other, and getting people to realize that when you go into the environment, you have to leave no trace. That was the motto that we actually helped coin back in this, the 60s and 70s, which means you go there, you don't leave anything except for your footprints. And even then, you got to watch where you're stepping, because there's places you do not want to step, because you're going to harm very a delicate plant life. But for sure, couches, are you serious? So I'm all in favor of using our natural areas for photography. Just don't step over the line. That's how I go on that. So there you have it. You've heard it from Mark.
And just showing with this photo, it can be dangerous too, depending on where you live. Like going
Well,
off of the trails, there's a reason that the
yeah.
the trails
I don't
are
know if you guys
there.
saw, it's funny, yesterday I was on our trail. I shot a little YouTube story with my buddy Shyla. If you haven't seen it, you could pop over. And right after I shot it, we live in an area where we have a lot of wildlife. So we have been seeing bobcats quite a bit. I love bobcats. They're awesome. They come to our yard and eat rodents. Anything that's going to get rid of the rodent population is a friend of mine. And we see them on the trail. But there's also been mountain lion sightings. So a guy on the trail was telling me, hey, yeah, we've seen some more mountain lion activity recently. And he said, did you see that video of the guy that got chased? It's a 6-minute video, and I hadn't. I don't know if you guys have. Pretty terrifying. He escaped, but I wouldn't want to have a mountain lion charging me. So again, we have to be respectful of the fact that we're sharing this land with a lot of other forms of life besides humans. And some of them, in the case of mountain lions, are not exactly, a good mix. So that's just another point we got to be aware of. Don't f with their environment, and especially don't antagonize them. So there you have it. Okay, what's our next
Yep,
story?
I think that's a good place.
And
Our
hello, let's
next
say hello to a
story.
couple of you
So
guys.
back in
Let me just shout out to, hey, Paul in
yeah,
Toronto, good to have you with us. We're changing our name to Jared, apparently. We could do it sort of like, we could be uh, Cornell Jared, and we could be you Colby Jared. I'm kidding, but why not? You should capitalize on that name. But we've got Kevin from Michigan, Joe, good to see you from Indiana. Sank from Istanbul. Always good to have you guys. And I didn't say this before, so pardon me. I'm just going to pop this in here. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so and enable the bell. It's really important, because then you're not going to miss any of our shows. Okay, on to our next piece of news. What is it? Oh, yeah, the humans. This is interesting.
yeah. So this is a new book that's come out fairly recently. Back in 2008, a man named Brandon Stanton created a book, Humans of New York, where he went around New York and took 10,000 photos of New Yorkers. 10,000. And so now he's decided to expand that, and he's gone over the world, and we've got some amazing photos. Well, here we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Mark, why don't you go ahead and talk about that? But basically, what he did is he's taken these photos, and then he did interviews with all of these people from across the world. So here's the United Arab Emirates. There's one from New York. There's one from I think there's a Dubai one. I know there's a Mumbai one. All over the place. So why
Yeah.
don't you talk about this, Mark? I thought you had a really interesting perspective when we went over this.
By the way, Jared noticed that my microphone is still acting up. We changed the cable. We even did a test. YouTube, everything was fine. I don't know why it's doing that. I apologize.
Yeah,
We'll go
I'm
with
gonna
the next.
be we'll be contacting Yeti support and seeing if they've got any ideas for
See what's going
the
on. So
microphone.
bear with
So
us.
hopefully we'll have that fixed soon.
Okay, here's my take on it, and I'm going to be very blunt here. From a photographic, if I were critiquing these photos, I would consider them mostly snapshots. There are missing elements. I don't see decisive moments. I don't see punctuation. Even the exposure is like in this case with this guy. You see the clouds back there. He could have brought those clouds up. But the point of the book is a story. And of course, he's doing that. But I kind of wanted to make the point. Keep scrolling through here, Jared. You can create a very big splash with a book or with a photo story, even though the images themselves are not, these are not outstanding photos for the most part. And I don't know if the photographer knows that or not, but certainly we know it. But they're all about the fact that he was going around the world catching these stories. These are essentially snapshots. And just keep going, and you'll see what I mean. But it does say this is probably the for me the only one that really caught my eye because it is framed between the posts. It's got that great expression. He did blur the background, so that one is kind of hitting the artistic end of the photo scale. But for the most part, these are simply snapshots, and he made a story out of it. So it's interesting to see that somebody could create this big best-selling book without having their photo chops really honed down. I would say to that, what would happen if he did? I mean, if I had Bob Holmes on here critiquing these, you can imagine what he would be saying. Where's the punctuation? Where's the decisive moment? These are important elements, but nonetheless, they're telling a story. So I just wanted to kind of point that out. It's an interesting point as far as what people will be gravitating towards, and you'll see a big difference
And
between these
it's
and the
it's a mix
photographer we're
too
going to
with the
feature in.
storytelling.
Yeah, there's a lot of the
It's
written
a mix
story.
with, yeah.
The written story is probably what makes it really work, obviously. Because again, if you looked at this photo, uh, you know, it's a snapshot. But there's a great expression of the child, but it's the story underneath it, I think, that's carrying it. So it's not always apparently just about the photos carrying their weight. Although we certainly would, National Geographic as an example, they would do both. They would have the written story
Hmm.
and the photos themselves carry at least equal weight. So there you go. That's
And I
a little
think
piece of
it's
news.
coming out at a real opportune time. It's coming out at a real opportune time as well because,
Sure.
a lot of us are really starving for, human interaction and wanting to like meet people. And so this is a great opportunity to, see a peek into people's lives during such a hard time for a lot of us.
Absolutely. What do you guys think about what I was saying? Do you agree with me or disagree? I mean, I'd like to hear your feedback. And hey, a lot of other guys joining us: Chris from Arizona, and Kevin in Michigan, and Elisa in Panama. Great to have you guys with us. Yeah, tell me what you think. Am I just being overly harsh, or am I accurate? I mean, I know what I think, so
Yeah, I think as far as the photos, this one's my favorite because I love her expression in it
the
and the
which
caption
one?
below it. I don't know how old I am. This is the one of
Oh, I
the
see. Yeah,
woman in Mumbai.
yeah. Well, cool. Well, good
So,
luck to him, and it's
anyways, yes, would love to hear
it's
what.
it's a great project. I wish I'd thought of it.
All right. I think we got some AYP news and friend of AYP news next.
Ken Rockwell is a friend. We've done several videos with him. He's a fan of my books. In fact, you'll see as we scroll down, we had him graciously let everybody know about. There's the Z7. Look at that. Okay, we're getting into tech stuff. Anyway, Ken graciously let people know about our uh, book offer, which was really great. That opened up a whole lot of new people to my book, which I'm always thankful for. Thank you, Ken. But he had a story here that's actually really important. So let's go down to this. Um, Eddie Van Halen, you guys know he passed away. Let's get that story there. Passed away last week. We missed it for our news then. But this guy, what a virtuoso. I mean, if you have a chance, watch this video of him. We're not going to show it. I've never seen this. And this guy was such a virtuoso. But the point that Ken made, go ahead and read that bit of his
I
article
think
there. The
cameras
original,
don't.
not the
Was
original
it
one, but
the first article? Okay. This
yeah.
one? The how Eddie Valen.
No, it's actually Ken's note. He was talking about how Van Halen visualized his sounds. I think it's in there. I might have read it down deeper, but innovator as well as an artist. But the point that Ken was making in one of his articles was that Van Halen would visualize the sounds he wanted. Now, I made this point in my book, Create, that visualization doesn't just mean with your eyes. You can visualize a sound, and Brian Wilson in the Beach Boys visualized for his most famous album, Pet Sounds, he visualized all these odd musical sounds that you couldn't get out of a normal rock band. He had sleigh bells, he used Coke bottles, he used all sorts of, other things, but he visualized the entirety of the sounds together, and he went around the studio. There's a great documentary showing this. And so Van Halen did the same thing. He visualized what sound he wanted out of his guitar, and he taught himself how to do it, but he also apparently did some mechanical things, and I believe he even got some patents for some of his inventions. Some of you guys might know more about that than I do. Jared just read that section in Create. Well, thank you. And visualization applies to everything. Let me preach at you guys for a minute. We apply visualization to every aspect of what we do. For instance, Jared and I visualized this show. We were like, hey, I always thought it would be interesting to have a photography news show. We visualized it. You can visualize a book that you want to create. You can visualize a photograph. You can visualize an Instagram story. Whatever it is, it all starts here. It doesn't start with your camera. Camera is kind of late on the whole process. You go back earlier, and it's you with your vision. I mean, I could talk about this all day and all night, but here's a great example of another art form, another type of art, another artist who became absolutely, I mean, look, it's been said there's the two greatest photographers of all time are Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix. Jimmy didn't have all the technological stuff that Van Halen had, but they're both amazing in different ways. I mean, there's a lot of great guitar players out there, so it becomes a point of what style. You have George Harrison, didn't do all the fancy licks, but man, he was a virtuoso in his own right, and of course as a songwriter and a singer and all the other things that he did. So each one of these amazing artists has a different strength and a different set of skills, just like different photographers. But that was, I thought it was an interesting take on Ken's part. So thank you for that, Ken.
Yeah,
And
and a really interesting thing here too is my playing style really grew from the fact that I couldn't afford a distortion pedal. I had to squeeze those sounds out of my guitar, so I started hammering away with a screwdriver, you know?
There you go. Both Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix could play with the guitar out of tune because the whammy bar. I'm a guitar player, but I'm not good enough to talk about to actually use a whammy bar. But apparently, I mean, this you can kind of see the physics of it as you're bending those notes with a whammy bar. You're also stretching the string, which makes them go out of tune. Well, Jimmy could go from in a live concert where he was doing that with the guitar out of tune. He could compensate for it. Now you kind of think about that in the photo world, how we don't want to get to be slaves of our equipment. You know, let's say we're out shooting and we've got a 28 millimeter lens, and all of a sudden you realize that the action needs to be really up close. Well, what do? You switch lenses, put a zoom lens on, and then, a 200 millimeter lens and you get it from afar? Or do you just do what Bob Holmes talks about, Robert Capper talks about? Go close, get up close, compensate for it. Or even if something weird happens, work with it. Don't be a slave to your equipment is a good example from Van Halen. A lot we can learn. By the way, there's a lot we learn from other art forms. Don't think, when I talk about visualization and building your visualization muscles, I'm talking about going to museums. I'm talking about watching movies. I'm talking about looking at sculpture. Everything that you take in can improve your visualization if you observe it. If it just flies by, nothing matters. Picasso is an incredible example of a artist who was expert in many different genres, but how he took in life and turned that into his vision. There's a photo essay by the great photographer David Douglas Duncan, who shot 25,000 images of Picasso. Film, okay, not digital, film. Spent years essentially documenting Picasso. And there's this one sequence, and I wrote about this in Create also, of Picasso eating a fish. And then, there's a moment of, aha, I could turn this into art. He goes back into his studio with his pottery, makes a clay version of the fish, imprints the spine, what's left over, paints it. And what he did was he turned something that the rest of us would try to throw away before it started stinking up the house into a form of art. Very inspiring. Okay, well, I could talk all day about this stuff, and I probably should at some point. But what's our next story?
And I think just to throw out there, let us know in the comments and in the chat, who's somebody that inspires you that's not a photographer?
Yeah, that's
I think that'd be interesting to hear. Where do you get inspiration for your work? Anyways,
Joseph Holmes.
Going back up quick.
I'll just pop this in. So Joseph Holmes, we have this on one of our videos, a fantastic landscape photographer. Very serene landscapes. He said, I asked him about his vision. He said, his inspiration. He said it was going to the Beatles concert in 1966 at Candlestick Park. He saw the amount of energy that an artist could pour into others to kind of get those vibrations going, and that inspired him. Kind of interesting. You wouldn't think serene landscapes would come out of a frantic Beatles concert. If you've seen those, it's like you can't even hear the music because the girls are screaming so loud, and that's why the Beatles stopped touring, because they were tired of that. They couldn't hear themselves. Ringo could not hear what Paul and John were playing, and he had to watch their bobbing up and down to know where they were in the song. That's how loud it was. Okay, another story, another time.
All right.
Steve Jobs. Yep, that guy definitely got his inspiration from a lot of different places. All right, what's next?
I figured we could do another quick pitch, reminding people that if you want to get a copy of Advancing Your Photography, you can get it for free. All you have to do is pay the shipping and handling.
Yeah, and we had a problem with overseas shipping. It's gotten to be exorbitant. It's become ridiculous and also very slow. So for the foreign guys, we actually have a solution for you. So don't hesitate to order the book. And it's built into this. If you go to this link here, you'll see. But I'd love to have you guys get the book. It's a good book. I mean, I
It
do
is.
say so myself because it's a distillation of years and years and years of interviewing and studying fantastic photographers, everybody from Annie Leibovitz to Ansel Adams to Chase Jarvis to Bob Holmes to Dan Milner, and distilling that down into one easy to read manual called Advancing Your Photography. And I believe it does what it says in the title. It will help you advance your photography. Okay.
And also, one last thing, you can sign up for our newsletter to always stay up to date with us, announcements, all kinds of stuff. I've put that in the chat. That's a link for you to fill that out.
That's
So
right.
let's move on to our next story, which is about Karsten uh, Thinkler. I think that's how you say his name. He's a German Pulitzer Prize winning photographer who passed away recently. And we wanted to take a look at his work because he's got some amazing stuff. He won his Pulitzer Prize for his work in Rwanda during
Yeah.
the genocide over there. And so he's had a huge focus on especially photojournalism, documenting. You can see here he's done like events for different corporations. But there was one sequence that you really wanted to look at. Let me pull
Yeah.
that up.
This is really interesting, and I feel like this is the counterpart to what we saw in the human story, because his work is really fantastic. But this sequence I want to bring to your attention here. Not that. Okay, because yeah. Now look at this photograph, you guys. We're all trained to say, well, the subject of the photograph should be sharp, right? Should be in focus. Obviously, he did this on purpose. This wasn't just like by accident, oh, I forgot to focus the lens. And he's showing us as an art form, you can do whatever you want. There are no rules to photography. There's no rules to art for that matter. And it is those breakers of rules who often become like the stellar photographers or artists. Van Halen broke some rules. I mean, who knew that you could play the guitar just on the neck? I mean, yeah, that was done. Actually, flamenco, I believe, does some of that, but he really specialized in it. But let's just look at this series here. The girl. Go back to the other one, that first one. Now, there's a famous quote from my I will call him my mentor, Henri Cartier-Bresson. His quote was, "Focus is bourgeois. Bourgeois is middle class. It's like, not, it's right in the middle. In other words, what the general public will kind of accept. So this is obviously out of focus. This is not a sharp image, but he did it on purpose, leaving the chairs in focus, leaving the easel and the stuff in the side in focus. By all rights, shouldn't be a good photograph, but it
And very blown
works.
out too.
Yeah, and it's not even exposed well. But I'm sure, again, that's all on purpose. And again, we see somebody bending the rules and creating his own new rules, which is, really something I'd encourage you guys to do. But you got to know the rules first. If you just, it's kind of like somebody who looks at an abstract painter or looks at Picasso and says, oh, my kid could have done that, or I could do that. Yeah, but go back and look at Picasso. He could do everything exactly and precisely with a paintbrush to create very realistic paintings. Then he departed from that. So you can't skip that step and go, wow, this is going to be a great work of art. But let's just keep going through this sequence here, and you'll see I find this very inspiring. There's another one. Okay, back of a head in a movie theater. Doesn't look like anybody else is in the theater. All we're seeing is this sort of tousled hair. It's a silhouette, you know, but again, it's sort of breaking rules. So we're not seeing the subject's face.
It's right in
Less
the center.
so. What's that?
It's right in the center. Doesn't follow the rules
It's
for
right
his.
in the center. But go to the next one about in that sequence with the girl and the. But I'm actually inspired by this, and I'd like you guys to take this to heart. Like, go out and break some rules with your camera. There she is again. Looks like the same environment, the classroom. You know, there's some sort of angst going on with her. This is almost a double exposure, but I believe it's just reflection in the glass. So bravo to him for bending things around and, creating his own art form. And this is a very interesting, like a subway, again, reflection. Looks like he played a lot with reflections in windows, which is a cool effect. We had somebody in our critiquing last week who was doing that.
Yeah.
So get out there. When I say get out there and make your own images of life, don't forget to try new stuff. It's only through experimentation that you're going to perhaps, come across something that nobody has ever done before. But anyway, great photographer. Sorry that he's not with us, but he certainly left behind a legacy.
Yeah. I just, looking at these different images, you can tell that he really knew his stuff,
Yeah,
and that just made it even more interesting when, he took chances. Here's him going back to Rwanda, where he had gotten his Pulitzer Prize.
that's a gorgeous photograph. Look at that, you guys. Go back to that
Yeah,
one
I
with the
just
candles.
look how beautiful that is.
Just a fantastic
And the
photograph.
great easing of the blur that goes
Yeah,
there, because it's like
it's
everyone
just
here, and
what
it's
a
just like this row right here, because they're a little out of focus. Obviously, it gets more out of focus as you go.
yeah.
Spectacular image. Jared brings up an interesting point. He said, "Interesting. I wonder if the average photographer would get who would take that blurry picture would get traction on it. I suspect a recognized photographer can do that a little bit more." And
Possibly, sure.
it might come down to also proving that you're breaking the rules because you know the rules and you're trying something different,
Yeah.
as opposed to it being,
You
just a
don't know any
mistake.
better.
Like, clearly this is somebody who knows the rules and he's using them in this case, but still doing it in a really interesting way to capture some really spectacular images.
Exactly.
So
Wonderful
definitely
body of
encourage
work.
people to check out his work. I'm going to put a link here in the chat. Check out his work at the link.
Let me say something here that it's kind of bringing to mind. I'm going to be talking on Friday. I hope you guys join me at YouTube Live. I'm going to talk about what can open your door to really advance your photography, and something I believe for me has been certainly true. And when I'm talking to you guys, I've been talking to many of you guys through video chats and on the phone. And almost every one of you, one for one, has told me there's a couple of things you want. You want a mentoring program, but you also want to leave behind work that makes it's your legacy. You want to leave something behind. You want to pass something along. And I really believe that's true and important. And that's what you can do with a book or a zine or whatever. But I'm going to be exploring that in depth on Friday. So I hope you guys join me Friday at 10 o'clock. Please come. Please bring your questions and comments. And when we're done here, click on the link so you get a reminder. I love to see you guys there. This is a great photo. Look at this.
Yeah.
Holding a sunflower. Again, he knew how to expose. Look, he's got him perfectly focused, background out of focus. Very traditional way that we would capture a subject. So
Yeah,
here's a
definitely
virtuoso.
check out his work. It's really good stuff. I've looked at it several over the last week, and it's great.
Absolutely. What's next, Jared?
All right, something a little fun to end things off of. It's more fun with AI. The
Oh
AI
yeah,
on Facebook took a photo of some onions that a company is selling,
sexy onions.
Walla Walla sweet seeds, and they notified them that the product was overtly sexual positioning for their onions, just a regular bag of onions.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
once again, it shows a little bit of fun, and this reminded you, Mark, of something I believe.
Yeah, I haven't found. I don't know if you were able to find that, Jared, but I
I
heard.
did find it.
Oh, you did. Okay. So the story
Yep.
goes, if you've seen my, there it is. If you've seen my episode with Kim Weston, his grandson, talking about pepper number 30, he created 30 of these until he got what he wanted. It was a 6 hour exposure, F 280, 1 over 280. He created his own. I actually need to dig into the story, but he was accused of it being too sexual. Is this in this article
Yep.
here?
And so it says, at the time, the pepper looked like muscles of the back flexing or the spine arching, as in old master paintings of reclining nudes. In
Yeah.
other passages, cleaving forms recall buttocks, and incurvations of the pepper's flesh create dark orifices in tension with the forms that seem to be rhythmically
Ah,
contradicting and expanding. The gentle light from
no.
above and the subtle reflective light throughout lend sensuality to the pepper, its surface glistening lubricantly in some places, velvetly in others. It's
Oh, that's
definitely a
incredible.
case of people really looking into an image of a pepper.
Well, that's a pretty sexy pepper there.
Yeah,
Well,
apparently.
it was Weston. I wouldn't be surprised. He was an interesting guy. He used to have cross-dressing parties. This is all in. I'm not making this stuff up. This was all in my film with his grandson, and he was notorious. He had a he he had a an active libido, we'll say, and who knows? That may have been his inspiration. I doubt it, though. He was just the master of taking everyday objects and making them look beautiful. The one that is just incredible is the toilet bowl, the toilet that he took in Mexico. Again, he's just capturing the art of it, the form. So, and here's another guy breaking rules. These are rule breakers. These are people who weren't just, okay, you can only do that with a tree or a person or whatever. He's taking, peppers and toilets and shells also. That was another thing he worked with a lot. And his nudes were very interesting. A lot of them were, the nude is lying in sand, and you're just seeing like her backside as a form again. So check out Edward Weston, and watch out for that
AI.
AI. I'm sorry, the AI,
It
the
does seem
the AI.
that they got it returned. So they got it
They got their
examined by
onions
a real
back.
person, and the real person said, "Okay, clearly these onions are just onions. There's nothing overtly sexual about the
What do
onions."
you know? Good for them. Well, that was our news, you guys, and I hope you enjoy it. We'd love to hear your comments, and also, hey, if you come across interesting stuff, will you send it to us? You can send it to ayp@silberstudios.com, because we're always scouring around for interesting news stories, and if you find stuff, let us know. We had several in the technology department, but we kind of just didn't resonate enough for us. It's got to be something really interesting for us to throw that in there, because we're not about tech. But if you guys see something, I don't care what it is. I mean, if it's a new camera that's promising, or software, or a book, or whatever, we certainly want to hear about it. We'd love to have you guys help us create these stories. Well, I think that's about it. Oh, did we skip over the AYP news section though?
Well,
Right.
we talked a little bit about it, but we can talk now about the rest of our content for the week.
Let's tomorrow we're going to be doing more critiquing with you guys. Jared, tell them what we got to do to get into the critiquing.
All right, you want your photo to be critiqued? Then you need to join the AYP Club, which I'll be putting a link to here
Yep.
momentarily. But join the AYP Club, post your photos there, and put hashtag critique, or on some post where I'm talking about the show, say, that I can use any of your stuff.
Okay.
And uh, the best way to for sure get seen, because we usually have up to nearly 40 photos to go through and we can't quite get through all of them. We try,
Right.
but it's so hard to get through them all. So if you're here, I tend to try to grab those. Doesn't
That's
mean we
right.
won't look at them if you can't join us live. But that certainly increases the chances for that. And just so you know, we only do one photo per person,
Right.
and because we have so many that we have to get through. But I do try to grab people who are very active in the community week by week. You might see your photos. So be sure to join us.
And we'll also be giving out another print from Bay Photo. So you guys have to be, in order to qualify for winning that print, you got to be in the show. So that's another good reason. And last week, these are big prizes. They're like worth in the $100 range.
Over $100.
Over
I don't think we have
$100.
one that's not worth over $100. So
So, that's another cool thing. Bay Photo will make the print for you and send it right off to you. So definitely show up for that. Okay, that's tomorrow and again Friday. What's the name of that show? I
the
always,
name of that
I always forget how I
show,
titled them.
it's a good question. I'm
What
running
is it?
over
He's going to
to the
open it up.
channel now
But
to look. I'll even
the message of this is, I believe I've come across not
here it is
just,
on.
yeah, we've come across something that I think is the biggest missing ingredient in photography and the biggest game changer for you. And I'm going to reveal that, and I want to involve you guys in the discussion. Who is that guy? Let's get rid of this guy. Looks vaguely familiar to me, but we want to help you open the door to reaching your goals. It's about getting to your goals. And I've been asking a lot of you guys what your goals are. So this is kind of where this is, shook loose from those conversations. And it resonated for me in terms of what helped me arrive at that. So I'll tell you that story as well. But I love to have you guys along this Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific. Show up, give me your feedback. And you know what, Jared? Let's give away another Bay Photo print on Friday.
Okay.
Okay, how about that? We're just
Yeah,
going to
you guys
give
are definitely going to want to be joining that. We're just giving away prizes left and right.
we're giving away
So,
prizes. We're opening the door
and
for you.
and the way that you qualify for the prizes, once again, you have to be in the chat too and let us know, where you're joining from, even if it's just that, then because if I don't know you're here, then I can't choose you for the prize.
That's right.
So, be sure to be in the chat and let me know that you're there. I think that pretty much covers everything. Then
That kind of
obviously
wraps
we'll have
us up.
videos. We'll have videos this weekend. So join us, every day at 10 p or 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'm no longer in Pacific time, so I have to rethink.
Yeah, 10 a.m. is our time, and it just works out internationally. If we go much later than that, we're going to miss you guys overseas. We don't want to do that. So it works out to be the best time. As always, I love seeing you guys in the chat. I love hearing from you. I love talking to you. And I hope to be, talking to many more of you in the next couple of weeks. We're cooking up a lot of stuff here at AYP, by the way. We have we're going over in overdrive here as far as creating an ecosystem, and it's pretty exciting. So definitely, definitely be part of our newsletter, be part of the AYP club, so you stay connected with us. And I think that's about it, except to
Yeah.
say, will you guys remember to subscribe and enable the bell because you don't want to miss anything? Also, like and share. And always, as always, say this with me: And we've learned about some things, how you can get out and capture your own image, and maybe twist the rules. But remember to get out and capture your own images of life. I love you guys. See you soon. Talk to you soon. Stay well. Stay safe. Stay creative. Boom.